and welcome to another weekly update with myself, Sarah Lean. So kickstarting with the Azure news, we've got a couple of pieces of news. So the Azure security team launched their roundup of news and events and feature releases from July, because we're now in August. So I'll post a link to that because there was a few, I think there was about 6 different announcements that the Azure security team made it throughout July. So I'll link to that so you can catch up if there's something that you missed. Also, the Azure Advisor team launched a quick fix button within some of the Azure Advisor recommendations. Now, for those that don't use Azure Advisor, it basically recommends things around performance improvements or security improvements or cost reducing improvements you can implement within your Azure subscriptions. And often what you'll find is you'll get maybe a list of things that says you have a bunch of public IP addresses that aren't attached to any resources. You could save some money by deleting these, and it was a very manual process in the past, but now there's a quick fix button for some of the recommendations. So you can select for example, those public IP addresses that you want to get rid of, click quick fix, and then in theory Azure Advisor would go off and delete those resources, of course if there's no locks in place to stop these resources being deleted. But certainly hopefully that'll be a good feature for everybody to implement some of those recommendations and carry out those tasks a bit quicker. I also wanted to mention that Azure AD launched a feature for users. Now, we've had the feature in the admin side of Azure Active Directory for quite a while now, but now we have it in the end user, and that is around surfacing up your logins and where you log in and being able to mark those logins as you or as suspicious activity. So if you're aware, if you've been using Azure Active Directory, it can track where people are logging in. So for example, it can say that I've logged in Glasgow and then surface that up in the portal. Obviously, if I looked in that register of sign-ins and there was an entry that said I signed in from, say, Sydney, Australia, I would be able to flag that as suspicious behaviour and then take remediation actions against securing my account, changing passwords, even shutting down my account while we looked into it, see if somebody had hacked it, etc, etc. So we've been able to mark those suspicious activities for a while in the end user, in the admin side of the portal, but now we have it surfaced for end users to be a bit more proactive and help their IT department surface up those suspicious activities. Obviously, there's going to have to be a bit of end user education to encourage people to go into that page, to leverage it and to be a bit proactive around that. But hopefully it's a good set of features that will enable IT departments to be a bit more secure and a bit more on top of these suspicious activities as well, because at the end of the day the end user will know exactly where they've been and be able to be a bit more proactive around all of that as well. So that's me in terms of Azure news. It's been quiet this week in terms of user community activities that I've done. I've been busy internally with a lot of meetings and creating some content in between those meetings and just getting things through. I actually can't believe we're on Friday. I think my husband and I were both shocked when it was yesterday, sorry, and we had to put the bins out for our weekly collection. So yeah, it's been a fairly fast week as well. Next week is busier. So I think I have 3 presentations to deliver to different user groups. I think I've got one to an Australian user group, I've got one to a UK user group, and I've got one for a Germany-based user group, all virtual, of course, and the links will be on my website, so techielass.com/speaking, and you can find where I'm going to be and potentially join in those meetings if the time works and if you're free. So yeah, and I think I've also got a video coming out with the Skylines Academy people, talking about data centre migrations. I was interviewed by Gregor Sutty and Richard Hooper, and that video is going live, I think it's the 11th of August, either the 11th or the 13th. I'm not sure, but again, if you look at techielass.com/speaking, you'll see when that video is coming out, and you can, it's going to be a YouTube premiere video, which means it'll be streamed almost live, and the three of us will also be on the chat to answer any questions. So please do interact with that. I'll be there for the chat if you want to ask any questions, and we can follow up afterwards. So definitely check that out as well. The other thing I wanted to cover off this week is boundaries. So as a cloud advocate at Microsoft, I'm quite a public figure for Microsoft and for my job. I'm quite active, as you may know, on Twitter, Instagram, not so much on Facebook, and obviously LinkedIn as well. I've often had my DMs, so my direct message, private message, on Twitter open for anybody, so anybody could reach out to me, ask me a question, reach out and just introduce themselves, etc, etc. Same with LinkedIn. I've been quite open with allowing people to connect to me if I don't know them, and just interact and have that great conversation with the community. Unfortunately, I've had a few incidents with people not respecting boundaries and abusing the openness of the relationship I have with the community. So unfortunately, I've locked down my Twitter DMs. Can't DM me unless I kind of start that conversation. I have stopped accepting LinkedIn requests from people I don't know and who haven't bothered to include a note to say who they are and why they want to connect. And I've been awfully quiet on Instagram as well, because, like I said, I've had a few incidents where people have abused my openness within direct message, who have just not accepted the boundaries and the professional relationship that you should have with people that you don't know, and not been able to take no for an answer, and escalated it beyond something that should have been, to be honest. So I'm a bit disappointed that it's happened. I'm a bit upset that people have decided to attack me for no reason. And yeah, I feel like the rest of the community is unfortunately going to suffer because of a minority of people, but that's the reason why. So apologies for anybody trying to reach out to me. I've also stopped having the one-to-one meetings that I had, so my calendar is now locked down as well. You can't see my calendar unless I tell you externally. So a lot of things have stopped, unfortunately, because people haven't been able to respect boundaries, and I think we need to be mindful of that. A lot of us in the community are quite open, and I'm willing to have conversations with people. I'm not going to stop having those conversations, but I'm going to be much more mindful about how those conversations start and who I have those conversations with, unfortunately. And I think generally we just need to be more open and aware of the boundaries that happen with social media. A lot of us enjoy social media. It opens us up to lots of learning opportunities of new people, job opportunities, lots of good things around what happens with social media, but it also has its negative side. And I think when we're using it, we always need to be mindful to be nice to each other, to be respectful of each other. You know, you often just see that Twitter account or that LinkedIn profile and you don't realise there's a person at the end of that. And I think you have to be mindful of that. People have feelings, people can get hurt. False accusations could ruin people's careers. And just be respectful, be nice. 2020 has definitely not turned out the way a lot of us wanted, and still isn't on track to be a good year generally for the whole world. So I think even now, more so than before, we need to be mindful to be nice to each other and respectful of each other, and just help each other and stop pulling people down. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about this week. It is weekly update 51. If you haven't already subscribed, please do subscribe. I see from my YouTube stats a lot of people are watching these videos that aren't subscribed. Please do subscribe. Next week is going to be week 52, so it's going to be marking a year of me doing these videos. I have got a wee bit of a celebration plan, so be sure to subscribe, ring that little bell, and you'll get a notification when that weekly update 52 video goes live. and just join in. Let me know if you enjoy this content, if there's something you want to ask. You know, you can slide into the comments and ask me. Happy to have that conversation, happy to adapt these weekly videos to things that you may want to see, may not want to see anymore. But yeah, let me know your feedback, and like I said, please subscribe, hit that little subscribe button, and also hit the like button if you enjoyed this content as well. So thank you for watching. If you've stayed this far, appreciate it, and have a good weekend, and I will catch you next week.